We're going live, and we're live. And I got to make sure this thing is not muted, unmuted. We're going to start there. We're going to play the song that I made yesterday online using Suno because I can. And if I actually route the audio to the right place, you'll actually be able to hear it. All right. Take two.
Tuning live, oh, here we go. Shapiro's in control. TikTok copies on a roll. Bringing answers to your soul. Got a question, need to know. Traffic rules, we got the flow. From the streets, let's start the show. Ask a traffic cop, let's go. Bring your questions to the screen. Traffic cop will make the key. Fun for everyone, you'll see. Get your answers here with me. Lights and sirens all around. Safety tips and traffic ground. Answers here, they will astound. Sean Shapiro never found. Bring your questions to the screen. Traffic cop will make you keen. Fun for everyone, you'll see. Get your answers here with me. Lights and sirens all around. Safety tips and traffic ground. Answers here, they will astound. Sean Shapiro never bound. Bring your questions to the screen. Traffic cop will make you keen. Fun for everyone, you'll see. Get your answers here with me. From the cities to small towns, traffic laws and all the bounds. Join the chat, don't fool around. Answer in with knowledge sound.
Okay, I can say that I actually like that song. I like it. I'm having fun with it. I hope you're having a great day. It is Tuesday, and today is it's the last day of 2-day stretches before I have 2 days of not being live. So I am glad to be here today. We are joined, or will be joined at 10:35 by Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010, where we talk to his audience out in Radio Land about stuff and things. So I look forward to that, and I want to let you know that if you stick around, you can certainly link up and do stuff and things like ask questions live on the air. If you want to call in later on to talk to that guy there, Jerry Agar, 416-872-1010 or text 71010. That is the way to get the information to them so they can talk to me. You can actually be live on the telephone. They do that. If you're watching us right now, it means you're on one of those things. We're currently broadcasting on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and X. And, I see that there's some folks here. Oh, yes. Little Miscommunications 911 says, amazing, your own song. Yes, we're on all the platforms, even if it's where that comment came from. Instagram is great. It just doesn't integrate great with us in terms of getting questions, which means I have to look over there to the little screen on the side if I want to see your stuff, which doesn't always happen because I kind of get into the main chat. So if you want the absolute best, go to YouTube. YouTube.TrafficCop.ca will take you right to our page. You can follow us there. And it's the solid, almost always working. TikTok is also great. You can go to our TikTok channel, wherever you want to be, whatever makes you happy, because this is a show about you. Now, if you can't stay for the whole show, totally get it. Things are happening in your life. Maybe you're popping in for a second. Maybe you're popping in for a minute. Some people stay for the whole kit and caboodle. But if you can't stay, we get it. So go and download the episode. Follow us online on your favorite podcast app like Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, or Spotify. We take the episodes, we upload them so you can synchronize them with your device and take them on the road with you. That way you can listen to it while you drive without breaking any laws or burning your very precious data. I care about your data. Do you remember when data was like you had a meg? Maybe you got a gig eventually. How many people have less than a gig of data now? Not many, I don't think. It's like people have lots of data. I think I have 80 gig between my phones. Yeah, 80. I think it's 80 gig. How many people have unlimited data? Wouldn't that be nice? It's available in some places, just not necessarily here. Now, having lots of data shouldn't invite you to do what I've been seeing videos of or people on the road doing, which is watching Netflix while driving. I don't know what is wrong with those people. You don't need to catch up on your TV or movie watching. You just don't. It's also incredibly illegal and dangerous and stupid, but really? How addicted to television are you that you need it for while you're driving? So, yeah, I could go on about that. I really don't understand. Julie says, "Good morning, Sean, and everyone out there." Northern Pike says, "Come on, Sean, do the moonwalk." Yeah, no dancing required. It was in my contract. Chase says, "I think 22 degrees Celsius is the perfect temperature. Anything warmer is too much. I can handle warmer than 22. I lived in Florida for a number of years. I like warm weather. I cannot lie. I don't need sweltering, yucky weather. And really, humidity makes the biggest difference, I think. But I can appreciate where you're coming from. I do like the fall and spring for the basic concept that I could always dress based on how I feel. You want to wear a jacket? Great, wear a jacket. You don't want to wear a jacket? Like, I think 3 degrees, centigrade is sometimes like t-shirt weather. Depends on how cold the winter was, but that's another story. Polly B says, "Good morning, Sean, and to all the other viewers." Now, I added the two. I don't know why I added two. And all the other. And I'm adding the now. See, you read what you want to read. This is where you get into trouble. Good morning, zombie. How you doing? Hope all is well. Dua Mitzvah says good morning in a heartsy. What is the appropriate name? Is it a hearts emoji? I think it's not really heart. It's a emoji. I don't know what it is. Tactical Moose says hey, and I say hey back. What's up? Akela Draconis with greetings and salutations. I did see their message earlier on this morning that said something else. It said, oh, is this going the wrong direct? Greetings and salutations. A cybersecurity seminar. Okay, since DM, I'll try and pay attention to Telegram. We have a Telegram group, by the way. Only about 20 of us in there right now. Telegram.TrafficCop.ca, and you can join the conversation. We talk about stuff and things, and long walks and the everywhere because Michael does shares a lot of content there. That's obviously awesome in every way, shape, or form. Kevin, let's see here. Oh, that's so funny. I will come back to this comment in a second. Now I'm seeing. It was so weird. They're coming in out of order. Anyway, I'm so happy that everything's actually working. Let's see here. Dad joke flagged for later. Kevin says, "Hi, Sean. I had no idea you were related to Zev. Loved you on Diamond and Diamond podcast." Thank you, Kevin. I recently went in to meet with the fine folks at Diamond and Diamond and talk about stuff and things, which is what I do wherever I go. And yeah, I ran into Zevi, who I have known since we were all in diapers. I'm pretty sure. Yes, I've known Zevi for a very, very, very long time. And shout out to his mom if she's watching. uh, okay, we're moving on. Otherwise, we're going to start getting into stories about my childhood. No one needs that. We got a hi from, I don't know how to pronounce your name, so I won't. We'll call you Brar, just Brar, because I don't want to mess up your first name because I'm gonna. I would try it, but it would not work out well. Let's see here. We got because Akela is in the. I'll save this for later. He's got a signing off message saying goodbye for later. Brar has a question. I'm still not going to pronounce your first name, but go for it. Ask your question. We will happily take your questions. And lots of things are working. Kick, we got viewers on Kick. We got viewers everywhere. Very good, very good. Okay. Before, what is this? Aaron says I have 60. Okay, I guess that's questions. Bentley says careless driving. I don't know what we're in here. Picture in picture. What is this? While I do Uber. Okay. Okay. Before I get into deep rabbit holes of stuff and things, let's talk about Vision Zero Enforcement Team very quickly. They are the magical group of officers who go out there and try and change driver behavior one ticket at a time. They're pulling people over for choosing to engage in behavior that's not allowed. They're focused on the big four. We're talking about speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, impaired driving, the driving that we know leads to serious injury and death on our roads. It's just not okay. We also understand that minor collisions are going to happen. It's part of the whole Vision Zero thing. Minor collisions are going to happen, but the ones that lead to serious injury and death are both preventable and totally unacceptable. So if you don't want to meet one of our fine officers, change your ways now, because they are going to find you one day. Hopefully, it's before you end up hurting somebody or yourself. Now, today they are spending time in 14 Division and 51 Division. We're talking about the neighborhoods of Christie, Ossington, Annex, Little Italy, Bendale, Woburn, Highland Creek, West Hill, Guildwood, neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. Although we're not talking about employment right now, we're going to talk about the employment unit's website, because if you're interested in joining the police service or maybe becoming not necessarily a police officer, but a civilian member, check out www.tps.ca/careers, where you can get all the information. Yeah. And since we're plugging things, TrafficCop.ca, where you can get all the links to all of our social media and lots of useful links. I'm going to stop talking with my pen. Lots of useful links to I don't know, renew your license. Make sure you don't forget. How do you do that? You can either go to the website and do it, or you can go to their website, find a link to get reminders. Sign up for online reminders. They'll email you, they'll call you, they'll text you to make sure you don't let your license expire, that your vehicle doesn't become invalid, it doesn't expire. We're in flux as to if it's automatic renewal or not. But health card, you need to renew that as well. And I recently learned about someone who was driving with a expired license for like 6 months because they forgot. They just didn't know. We don't send The ministry doesn't send out any messages anymore. So if you're not signed up for their effectively mailing list, no one tells you any different than you get a big old ticket for driving without a license, and that's a problem for insurance as well. Now, I will say it was a good news story because they resolved the issue before anything happened. But yeah, don't be that person. All right, let's talk about Michael. Michael says, regarding talking about data, I want unlimited high-speed internet and text, even if I have to lose unlimited calls. I do not need many minutes. I do not watch films while driving through. Though I said through. The deal is that, yeah, how many people actually sit and talk on the phone? I remember as a kid growing up that I'd get home, I'd be the phone. I'd fall asleep with the phone in my hand. And of course, when you're on the phone before call waiting, nobody else could call your home. Um, the phone was like telephony. Being able to speak on wire was amazing. And now people don't talk on the phone. People don't talk. Talking is an art. Texting is eh. All right. I forgot what are the G1 rules about the driver you are with. This is from Mr. Point. Let me crack this bottle of water and we can discuss it. So the G1 rules are simple. In terms of being accompanied, you must be accompanied by a qualified G-class driver who has 4 years experience, and their experience can start when they get their G2. So if they've had their G2 for 2 years and their G for 2 years, that's 4 years experience total, and they can supervise you provided they are sober. They have to have under a .05 BAC. So they have to be legal to drive in order to be legal to supervise. Now, you can't have anybody else in the front seat. So you can't, if you had a bench seat across the front, you can have no other passengers in the front seat. And you can't drive between midnight and 5 a.m. as a G1 driver. You can't be on any highways that have a speed limit over 80. What else can I tell you? I think that covers it. And we talked about zero blood alcohol content for the supervisor, but obviously the G1 driver themselves, no drugs, no alcohol, zero tolerance. We get it all? Is there anything to add? I don't know. I think we're good. Let's continue down the list. I'm working construction. I love this weather than winter. I listen. Being outdoors in the freezing misery is miserable. Being out in the super hot is also dangerous, but I definitely prefer warmth over cold. Someone says they're cutting up on the 401. This genius. Okay, let me just explain the genius of this comment. I'm cutting up on the 401 right now. You ain't catching me. Well, KP, you genius, you. I'm sitting in an office online live streaming. So obviously I'm not catching anybody. I also don't go on the road doing enforcement, but you're also on the 401, which means it's the OPP. So we're talking about an entirely different police service altogether. Again, the genius that is you. Uh, do you give warnings more than tickets? This is Angel asking the question. There was a period of time when it was about 50-50 for me. Now, I don't give any tickets or warnings because I do education online. I'm no longer on the road. But when I was on the road, I used to do about 50-50. And then I found that it didn't help as much. Now, if someone was really uh, not doing something that was horrible, like you're doing 10 over, maybe you get a warning. You're doing 20 over, I'm giving you a ticket. It's just as simple as that. I stopped giving warnings for the stuff that I recognized as dangerous. And I'm not saying 10 over is not dangerous. I'm just saying that that's the example I pulled out of my hat. I'm not wearing a hat, so yeah. DJ, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Your username. Are we trying to make it a one word? I don't know. I'm not gonna mess it up. Good morning to you too, coming in from Twitch. We've got Linda. I figured that one out. Good morning from the Ottawa Valley. Good morning to you. Luca Leluc from Belgium. Hello, how you doing? Basher at Ali says, morning, Sir Sean. Keep the safe difference from the vehicle moving ahead. Uh, Basharat is a police officer in Punjab, Pakistan, who comes in to say hey in the show on a regular basis. And it is good mess. It is good advice. Don't be too close to the vehicle in front of you because stopping distances at different speeds, well, you need more room. And in fact, we'll talk about this in a second because I almost ended up in a pileup yesterday on the DVP northbound. Luca from Belgium wants to know what my favorite type of donut is, and my favorite type of donut has not changed since last time I was asked. I have not had a donut since I was asked last time. I'm not a big donut person, but the one donut that would actually motivate me to eat bad food is that of the Krispy Kreme raspberry filled. It is my favorite. Must be warm. That's my story. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So, yeah, the DVP northbound yesterday, there was a vehicle disabled. Was it actually on the 404 side? It may have been just over the crossover where it transformed magically from the DVP into the 404 northbound. And there was a vehicle in lane 3 disabled. Now, nobody knew that. I don't know if their lighting system, their electrical was out, whatever it was, the brakes were applied with great force. And the vehicle behind me, like as I'm rapidly approaching a vehicle with Florida plates, how do I know they're Florida plates? Because that's what I was looking at as I, narrowly escaped impact. And you're looking for escape routes. At least I hope you are if you're in a situation like I was. And yeah, I'm braking heavily and I'm looking behind me because you got to be paying attention to everything. And there's an F-150 that's rapidly approaching my bumper. And I'm just hoping and praying that they have the wherewithal and they're paying attention. Otherwise, they would have bit my bumper and we would have been in this big mashup. You know, I assume why this was happening was because people were just changing lanes to avoid, and people were too close to the vehicle in front of them. And well, braking ensued, and they didn't have any planning because they were probably playing with their phones. Now, I obviously did avoid collision. I had a good stopping distance. At least, if I didn't, I would have been in the collision. This is where you got to be paying attention. This is why distracted driving is such a problem. But what do you do when you're in a vehicle? This is where you really hope your lights are on, your hazards, and stay in the vehicle. If you're the person with a disabled vehicle, I'm talking to you. If your vehicle breaks down, do whatever you can to get over to a side because obviously in the middle is super dangerous. And then wait with your seatbelt on, waiting for the impact. I have seen on the middle of the 401 people out of their car when there's light traffic. That's waiting to get hit. But anyway, enough of this. What is this? Ah, Michael is with Chase on the topic of temperature. 22 is a good top temperature. Sweater, yeah, you can layer up. If it's less than that, you can certainly add clothing. All right. Chase comes in with a question. Question is, if you're at a four-way stop with no one else around except for a semi truck ahead of you, is it legal to pass inside of intersection if you made your full stop and truck is slow? Why? Why would you? Like, I mean, I get the question, is it legal? But why do we even have to get to the point of is it legal? Changing lanes isn't illegal. And if there were multiple lanes in an intersection, I don't think it would be an issue to change lanes and overtake. But what's a couple of seconds? If this was if a two-lane road, and you say no one else around, how do we know there's no one else around? You don't know until you know, which means you start passing and you end up colliding with somebody. I just watched a video on TikTok or Instagram last night where a Porsche, was it a Porsche guy? It was a construction zone. He decides he's going to pass in the middle of the intersection, ends up getting involved with an altercation with a construction worker, making contact with them, Police get called, they arrest him, from what I gather. Yeah, no, be patient. Slow moving is big rig. It'll just take a few more minutes and you'll be fine, or a few more seconds. Michael Arsenault wants to know, is license plate renewal still required despite that it's free and no sticker? I heard a rumor. License plate renewal is still free. I've not heard that the automation of renewal has kicked in yet. Now, maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. I don't know. Best thing to do is to make sure online and not make the assumption that it's happened, because you might be driving around with expired plates. Now, if you have any fines against your vehicle, you won't automatically renew. That's part of the caveat. And I don't know if they're going to announce it to you. I don't understand the system. We've not received training on it or proper notification. At least I haven't. So I'm waiting to know more. Can we get PC Pappy, PC Arsenault, or Cam Woolley as guests? Well, PC Pappy and I have talked about it. PC Arsenault is now a retired PC. He's left the job. It's now a couple of years ago that he left. Cam Woolley's been retired for many years. Cam's great. I can give him a call, see if he would like to come in and hang out. Cam was a sergeant with the OPP. He then left and went to CP24 and now works with Diamond and Diamond. So I saw him at Diamond and Diamond. We had a bite to eat together, and catching up because I hadn't seen him in ages and ages. So maybe he's the right guy to bring on. But PC Pappy is currently a member of Traffic Services. He's on the Vision Zero enforcement team. We should definitely get him to come out. Okay. Luca Leluc, who from Belgium, is it Belgium? Who asked about donuts, wasn't getting the response fast enough and didn't realize there was a zillion people in here and that they have to wait in line, even though they already had their answer. It just, that was at 10:09. It's now, what is it? 24 minutes past. Okay. Can you put a child in the front seat if the airbag is off and all their seats are occupied? So if the child, the question is not whether they can sit in the front seat. Legally, they can. It's lawful. It's just not safe. It's not a good idea, but you can do it. Let's say you had a two-seater car. You can install a child protective or child safety restraint in the front seat if it's installed properly and adhering to all the rules and regulations. But it's not the best option. Backseat is best until 14 years of age. And when you say child, that leaves a pretty, really, large range of ages, because that's anyone under the age of 18, right? What else can I tell you about that? If you are going to put them in the front seat, and now 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9" is a requirement to sit without a child seat. Again, not a good idea, not a reason to put them in there without a child restraint. Safest is always to have, like, you buy a booster seat, it's good until whatever age and weight they are, or size and weight they are. Keep it for the entire time. Don't be in a rush. You paid for it. Use all of it, which is sort of the analogy people use for speeding. I bought a car that goes 240. I'm going to go 240 because I paid for the speedometer. I'm going to use all of that's crap. Car seat, though, use it until it expires, until the kid outgrows it. Don't be in a rush to get rid of it. What's the rules on car meets? Car meets are car meets. What can I tell you about car meets? Illegal ones are not legal because they're illegal. If it's up to no good, doing burnouts and drifting and that kind of garbage, that's a problem. If you're trespassing, that's a problem. If you're simply having a car meet because you like cars and you go to the Timmy's parking lot with all your buddies and you look at each other's cars, that's called going for coffee. So in Vaughan, they have a bylaw now that if you have a car meet that qualifies for their illegal status, $10,000 fine for any business that's hosting it. Let's see here. Vaughan. I'm Googling it to see what they can see here. Car rallies without special event permits are not allowed in the city of Vaughan. What is it? What qualifies as that? Unauthorized car rallies typically involve people gathering with their modified vehicles to do stunts. They can involve taking over private property like parking lots or roads. These events do not have permission or a permit or permission from the city to take place. Unauthorized car rallies are disruptive to the quality of life in Vaughan and pose a significant risk to the community's safety. These events come with excessive noise, speeding, stunt driving, and blocking or impeding motor or pedestrian traffic. Now they have a bylaw that prohibits any participation in unauthorized car rallies, including sponsoring, collecting money for, coordinating, advertising, hosting, Spectating, attending, or bringing a vehicle to a car rally, driving or riding as a passenger in a motor vehicle at a car rally, stopping, slowing, or impeding traffic movement, including pedestrian traffic, as a consequence of a car rally, and being a vendor of a car rally. And this is actually very interesting. Any person participating in, having their motor vehicle at, sponsoring, collecting money for, coordinating, advertising, hosting, or being a vendor at an authorized car rally, unauthorized, I should say. Penalty for first offense, $1,000. Penalty for subsequent is 2,000. And then any person spectating, attending, riding as a passenger in a motor vehicle at an unauthorized car rally, $500, and subsequent offenses, $500. Any person emitting, causing, or permitting sound or noise from a car rally, $1,000 first offense, $2,000 for follow-up. But I had seen one that said $10,000, so I don't see that here. But how interesting is that? I mean, for the people who don't like these laws, not very interesting. But it's good to know this stuff before you do stuff, so you don't get charged with stuff and end up paying stuff. Jewish Mama says, "Good morning, Sean. Good morning." I don't know what to call you as a short form. I don't really feel comfortable calling you Mama. Uh, Orim's dad says, "Increase victimless crimes." As a dad, I don't know if you should be instigating or suggesting that anyone uh, increase crimes. Now, to say victimless means you don't understand the full spectrum of what's going on here. There is no victimless crime. A crime puts people at risk, and risk creates potential victims. You don't have to hurt someone. I don't have to punch you in order to be assaultive towards you, right? I don't have to make contact. But if I raise my fists at you, that's assault, and I can charge and prosecute you for that. And someone can call and say, I felt, that this person was assaultive towards me, and that's a crime. Were they a victim? They weren't hit, but they're still a victim. So you need to, extrude your idea, extrapolate. Tell me what's going on. Just a reminder, please start your questions with the letter Q. Q is for question, and it helps me decipher whether or not you're just chatting amongst yourselves or actually, got a question. Just a reminder, in just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Jerry Yeager on News Talk 1010. We're going to talk about stuff and things with his radio audience for about 10 minutes. And to call in for that, I should probably put this on screen. You can go here. There we go. I got no. 416-872-1010, text 71010. If you call, you may be on air with us and chat about your question. If you text in, Jerry will likely ask the question on your behalf. But either way, that is the way to get in contact with the man on the radio. Yes, water good. Okay, I'll put that back up in a second. What do we have here? Actually, I'll just leave it up there. I'll leave it there because you know what? It's just a couple minutes, like 5-6 minutes, and it'll give you the opportunity to, yeah, to go on and remember those numbers, write them down. Opportunity for you. Obviously, if you call in, you'll hear it here too, because this is all intermingling of the streams. Okay. Can you change lanes in the middle of an intersection? We talked about it. Not advisable. It's unsafe. I always, talk about the fact that in a play, on the stage, everyone's got places they're supposed to stand, and everyone else has a role, and they're supposed to go where they're supposed to go. Well, when you change lanes in the middle of the intersection, it's like getting off your mark on a play. If the person who's supposed to turn right is turning right. Now you're in the space that they were. You may cause a collision. Now, is there a charge for changing lanes? No. If it results into, could it have been careless? There's other things that could happen, and you could cause a collision, and that's ultimately the thing we're trying to avoid. Mr. Point was asking about the G1 stuff. We talked about that already. I think it was pretty clear on it. Is it legal to eat food while driving? Yes, as long as it doesn't negatively impact your ability to operate your vehicle safely. So if you're all over the road weaving around because you're munching on whatever you're munching on, then it's careless driving, and you could be eligible for that charge. We got here. Okay. Liam, we got lots of dialogue here. Lots of dialogue here. Brandon says, good morning, Sean, and all the good people in the community. Let's all have a safe, fantastic day. Are you still fishing? It was fishing, right? Let's see here. Why does it seem like motorcycles are allowed to have louder exhaust or have loud exhaust? Well, to some degree, they are. Are they allowed to be obnoxiously loud? No. The charge of unnecessary noise applies to any motor vehicle, motorcycle or otherwise. Uh, you know, you put it. You look at a motor vehicle, a car or a truck. You have an engine up front, and way back at the end, you have the exhaust. If you put your ear to the exhaust in a car, you might find out it's noisy or noisier than you thought. But you're not standing next to the engine and the exhaust. On a motorcycle, it's everything's right there. You've got an engine without, an engine housing to muffle any noise. There is some level of noisiness that's going to be, but it's acceptable to a certain point. Now, in the city of Toronto, there's a bylaw. If you're creating 92 decibels at idle or more than 92, is it more? I've never laid the charges new since I've been off the road, but more than 92 decibels, might be 92 and up. 92 and up, we're going to go with 92 and up. At idle, you're going to get a $500 bylaw fine, in addition to a $110 unnecessary noise fine. In addition to that, if you're 96 decibels or above at anything other than idle, then you're also eligible for that offense. It doesn't matter if you're on a motor. In fact, it was originally brought in specifically to motorcycles, and now it's been rewritten to include all motor vehicles, which is good. Can a G2 driver, let's see here, can G2 driver in U.S. or other countries? Yes. Wendy wants to know. Hello, Newstalk 1010.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Well, how are you?
Good. Thanks for thanks for joining us today. We're just getting all hooked up here. You can hear us fine?
I hear you fine. If you hear us fine, then we're all fine.
Yep, we're all fine. We should be up here in roughly 2 minutes.
Excellent. We're ready for you.
Thank you, sir.
No worries. We'll leave them there, and hopefully we're muted so we don't hear any of the dialogue until they're ready to go. And then Jerry will pop in when he's ready, and we'll continue looking at questions in the meantime. But the G2 question, which we answered, you can drive in the U.S. and countries that accept Canadian licenses. You are required, however, to follow any of the rules and regulations surrounding yours. So if you have a condition to have no alcohol, which you do as a G2, no alcohol or drugs, then it's the same thing in any other country that you visit because you're bound by the conditions of your license. If you're in the first year and you can't have passengers, you're limited to the number of passengers between midnight and 5 a.m. that are under the age of 20, that are not immediate family. So those limitations still apply in the United States and anywhere else you're driving. Can my dog sit in the passenger seat? How should a dog be legally sat in a vehicle? Legally, as long as they're not touching or involved with you and in stopping you or preventing you from safely operating your vehicle, they can be anywhere in the vehicle. Now, ideally, they should be tethered or crated in the back seat because that's what's going to be safest for them. Think about, in the event of a collision, how bad it would be if Fluffy or Spike or whatever your dog's name is becomes a projectile. They can get hurt. They can hurt you. And even if you say, well, they weren't hurt in the collision, but their window's broken, they're not tethered, and out the window they go into the busy highway after a collision, they could be hurt after the collision. So all the way around, be careful and make sure that they're safe. And make sure you're safe. And if you are parking, don't leave your animals in a vehicle, even with the window cracked. It is not sufficient, especially in these super hot weather times where there's a heat warning. Don't leave your vehicles or your animals in your vehicle. And then we didn't.
Jerry Agar continues.
Thanks for being along. What a changeable day. A little bit ago, I was sitting at a computer and writing, and rain was just pounding against the window. And now I've got the blind down because the sun is pounding against the window. It's that kind of a day. So every couple of weeks, we dip into the regular broadcast on TikTok that Sean Shapiro does. That's why I call him the TikTok Traffic Cop. At Traffic Services is where you find him, and we answer your traffic questions. Sean, good morning.
Good morning, Jerry. How's it going?
Going well. I'm going to ask you a question that I had, but you're welcome to text us a question at 71010 or call in at 416-872-1010. or 877-518-5151 with a question for traffic cop Sean Shapiro. So this was a thing that happened to me on Sunday, and I was wondering if I had the right answer. And it was that I wanted to turn left on Queensway. And sometimes a day, in particular days, weekdays at rush hour, I would never try that because it's just not going to make it. But this was a Sunday afternoon, and it's possible to do. At that point, here's Queensway. It's 2 lanes going east and 2 lanes going west, and in the middle there's a turning lane. So there was a car in front of me that was one of those people, Sean, who just can't bring themselves to make the left-hand turn. So I don't know why they tried to in the first place. There's one of those people who seems to think that if they can see a car, they can't make the turn. And my thought was, why don't you wait until there's a traffic break on the car coming from your left, go out and turn into the turn lane, which is in between the lanes of traffic, and then look for your chance to get into the traffic going the other way. Is that legal?
So you were talking about entering the intersection rather than waiting behind the line to wait for the opportunity to make the turn. Is that where we're just to clarify?
I'm talking about you've got the traffic coming from your left, which is what's problematic, right? You're trying to turn left, and you got traffic coming from your left. So at some point, there's a break in that traffic, not necessarily from the traffic coming from your right, but there's that empty turning lane. Can't you go out and turn into that and then wait for your opportunity to get into the other lanes?
I hear what you're saying now. So
Yeah.
the deal is that that's technically not a proper turn. However, it's an improper turn that I make on a regular basis because it's the safest option, and it promotes getting to where you have to go safely. So while it's not technically appropriate, very often that is a logical way to go, and I think that most officers would not have an issue with it.
Okay. So it's not then specifically absolutely against the law.
Well, the center lane is a multi-use lane. It's primarily used for people on that road to enter, to make left turns, and so on. But it's not intended for you to make like an on-ramp out of it or a merge lane of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, sometimes some roads, there's just no other good way to enter it because people are oddly not very courteous and don't make space for others.
Yeah.
It's a problem, especially with high-speed differentials.
Now, here's an interesting question. In all the time we've done this, I don't know we've had a question like this. It was just texted in from Robert. I have mild cerebral palsy. I've never had a driver's license. Can I legally obtain an accessible parking pass for when I travel with friends?
Yes. So you don't have to be a driver to get an accessible permit. You just need to fill out the paperwork and take it to your doctor and make application. And there's a passenger version of it, essentially. The driver who is helping you or driving with you is eligible to park in that spot when the permit is present and you are present with the permit. So they can't drop you at the door and then go park in an accessible pass parking spot, but they can park in there with you in the vehicle.
Yeah. Okay. So the parking pass doesn't actually belong to the car. It belongs to the person who needs the accessible opportunity.
Absolutely. My grandmother, who never drove a day in her life, had an accessible permit for whenever I took her anywhere, and we parked in those spots.
All right. That's great. That's good to know. Here's another question. Do you lose demerit points for being accused of going through a stop sign?
Accused? No. Convicted? Yes.
All right.
So demerit points are applied after a conviction is registered. So the courts, who have nothing to do with demerit points, register a conviction if you've been found guilty, and the Ministry of Transportation then applies the points. And the funny thing is, people get really wound up about points because they think they're going to impact their insurance. The insurance companies don't care about points; they care about convictions. The points are there to register and track your history as a driver. If you accumulate too many of them, you'll get some nasty grams, and then you'll get suspended. But they're two independent things, and the insurance companies really care about your behavior and your convictions.
Here is Lucas from Hamilton. Go ahead, Lucas.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I was driving. I was heading to an intersection, and I was not within the stopping distance to stop before the line, and the light turned yellow. And there was a car on the intersection turning left. They pulled out once the light turned yellow, and I had to swerve out of the way. If there was a collision, who was in the wrong?
Well, they have to ensure that you are actually stopping and that their turn can be completed safely before initiating their turn. So they would have been wrong if the officer investigating determined that you had a part to play in that because you were speeding or you should have stopped and didn't, that's a separate thing. So you could actually both be charged for your elements of it, but the person who's most wrong is the person making the left turn into your path, because on a yellow light, you may still be entering that intersection. In fact, even on a red light, they have to ensure that you've stopped.
Thanks, Lucas.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Yep. Here is this is an interesting question. This person writes, I'm very passionate about motorcycle stunting, wheelies and such, and I'm wondering if there really is anywhere to legally do such things. As far as I know, there's no designated tracks or lots that permit this, perhaps private property with consent from the landowner.
So private property from the landowner, oh, I can't speak today. Consent from landowner doesn't make it legal. You need to have permits from the city. It has to be a sanctioned event, like Honda Indy, for instance. What they're doing is stunt driving on the road, but during the time that they're in play, that is considered a track, and that it's only racetracks and go-kart tracks where stunt driving is legally permitted.
You know, one of the first times I saw that, Sean, it was shortly after I had started riding motorcycles, and I saw a guy doing a wheelie and going down the road in a fair amount of traffic. And you've lost a lot of control of the motorcycle. I mean, you may be a good enough rider to be able to do that wheelie, but the fact of the matter is you can't really turn and you can't handle an emergency when you're up on the one wheel like that. And I mentioned it to the owner of the shop where I had purchased my motorcycle, and he said, yeah, he won't do it for long.
It tends to be a self-correcting issue. They do
Yeah.
it until they can't do it anymore because they've hurt themselves or they've had their wheels taken away from them. Because that is stunt driving. It would result in a 14-day vehicle impound, a 30-day suspension of their license, on conviction, a 1 to 3 year prohibition, I should say, a $2,000 to $10,000 fine, and up to 6 months in jail. It's really just not advisable.
Here is Paul from downtown. What's your question, Paul?
Thanks, Jerry. If I'm going northbound on a one-way street and I'm at a red light and I want to make a left-hand turn, which is another one-way street, am I legally allowed to make that left-hand turn at that red light?
Yes, in Ontario, the only time you can make a left turn on a red light is to another one-way street, if it's safe to do so, if it's not prohibited by sign.
Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Here's a question from a crossing guard. When stopping traffic at an intersection, are cars allowed to make a right-hand turn? It's terrifying. As soon as I'm not directly blocking right turns and moving to the center of the intersection, cars start to turn right.
Yeah, they're not allowed to. If this crossing guard is present in a crosswalk, no one is allowed to cross that crosswalk. It doesn't matter if you're going straight through, turning, you can't enter it. So they're absolutely in the wrong, and I understand why it's terrifying. They shouldn't be there.
Came up behind on a motorcycle ride just recently. I came up behind a school bus and it stopped. And then I stopped, people stopped behind me, and we're all looking at this thing, but it never turned on any lights, never put that stop sign out. So eventually we just went about, I went around the thing, and the people coming the other direction went along in their lane. I think we were right.
You were. The only time you cannot pass a school bus is when they have their overhead lights flashing. At that point, you can't pass. Now, if they have overhead ambers, that's a cautionary that it's about to happen. It used to be when the vehicle was in motion, that they'd have ambers, or they'd have actually flashing reds, but they were still moving. You were able to pass back then. Now we finally got on board with what everybody else has, and that's ambers when it's cautionary, flashing red when you can't pass, and of course they have the stop sign that comes out to be an extra guide. But you have to stop for any flashing red lights on the school bus.
And really quickly here, because this question was sent in and we've never had it before. This person wants to know from you, the traffic cop, if I'm traveling at the speed of light and turn the lights on in my car, will I see anything?
That is a very good question that I'm not capable of answering. But it is a good question.
Neither Sean or I are qualified to answer that question. But thanks for sending it anyway. You going to continue on TikTok?
Absolutely.
All right. At Traffic Services, TikTok Traffic Cop.
If you don't use TikTok, you can also get us on all the other platforms. Go to TrafficCop.ca and you have links to all of them.
All right. Thanks very much.
All the best.
This is the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
So that was Jerry Agar. It is always fun to hang out with Jerry. Let's see here. We got to take that screen, change it back to this. And now I can stop ignoring you and we can get back into the questions from our audience. But it's always fun to dip into the radio. We've been doing this for a long time now. It's really cool. I think it's really cool. Maybe I'm the only one. No, I think it's nice. I met at Honda Indy, and speaking of Honda Indy, we're going to Honda Indy July 19th to 21st. So if you are in town, if you're planning on coming by, know that Friday is Fan Friday. Historically, I assume it's going to be the same thing this year. And it's free. Make a donation, and you get to come in for free. Come visit us, say hello. We'll be doing some live streaming and hanging out and talking to people. But what was the point of my story? Point of my story is last year, a woman walked up to me and asked if I was Sean Shapiro. And I said, "Oh, do you watch me on TikTok?" And she says, "No, I recognized your voice from the radio." She had no idea what I looked like. That's why she asked me who I was. But she was a longtime listener, and she was an older person, and I don't know if they used the internet at all. So that was very cool. Uh, the radio is a medium that many people don't appreciate just how cool it is. I mean, I grew up on radio. We didn't have MP3s. You wanted to make a mixtape, you had one you had one tape player that you put it in front of the radio and hope that nobody called. Mom didn't yell from downstairs. You needed to get a good copy of that music so you could make your mixtape. Anyway, I am old, apparently. I love the 80s and 70s fan pages that show all the stuff I grew up with, like, McDonald's ashtrays. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're not old enough. All right, moving along. Let's see here. Questions. We talked about that. I'm just scrolling through some stuff because I lost our place. And overpass. What is this? Please use the letter Q. So I know that you're actually asking me a question because there's a whole bunch of dialogue going here. Okay, first of all, what do you think of Quebec? I think it's a province in Canada. What do you want me to say? Quebec is Quebec. I used to visit there all the time. I think there's some beautiful places. Montreal is a great place with fantastic smoked meat. And if you don't know what smoked meat is, you're missing out. I don't know how to read your name. I'm thinking about it like I don't know how to say anything that I got caught saying something I wasn't supposed to say once. I'm not doing that again. But where can I ask questions? You just did. That is where questions are asked. Oddly, let's see here. We got more things. I'ma find you. Says hello. How are you? I am doing great. How are you? It is always nice to when people ask the question of how are you doing. Not that I need to be asked a lot. Just it's I never sound this new user. Welcome. By the way, if you're watching and you don't already follow us, please do because following us ensures that you will see more of us. And when we go live, which is most weekdays, not all weekdays, but most weekdays, you get notified. It's a higher likelihood, and it makes our numbers go up. I recently did a check to find out who had the most number of TikTok followers on TikTok when it comes to police agencies. And the number one happens to be the police in Spain. They have 2.1 million followers. I don't. And now I want 2.1 million followers plus one, whatever they have plus one. I want to be number one in the world. We are number one in the world when it comes to education. But in terms of just being the biggest police agency on TikTok, the biggest police account on TikTok overall, I'd like us to have the number one. So please help us. Please help get people to find us and follow us. And I say 2.1 million TikTok in particular. I'd love to have 2.1 million followers on YouTube. We have about 3,500 or 3,300. I'm not in competition, but on TikTok I am. Don't ask me why, because I don't have a good answer. Let's see here. What is the rules about device mount on dashboard and people watching videos while driving? It's illegal. You can't have a screen visible to driver. The only screen that you're allowed, even on a cell phone, if it's mounted, is GPS. Otherwise, you can have the lock screen, and you can answer a call and hang up on a call. Those are the only functions you can access lawfully on your phone. Now, when I say GPS visible, I mean set it and forget it before you get on the road because you can't actually touch it to change and enter addresses. That is not lawful. Yeah. Oh no, wrong person, wrong thing. It updated. Scrolling back to find it. They basically said parking illegally to give someone a parking ticket is not making sense to them. And yet it is absolutely making sense to me. You see, we need to stop people from breaking the law. There we go. And that might mean that we have to temporarily, which we're allowed to do, stop and then ticket you and then carry on with our business. It makes perfect sense the truth is, don't park illegally and don't break the law. And then we won't interfere with traffic momentarily to enforce the laws. Like, it's ludicrous that people don't think that police should, like, it's like saying that, if someone's running from the police, we shouldn't be able to chase them because um, then two people are going quickly. No, the reason they're running is probably because they're wanted. I mean, this is not to suggest that anyone who's the scenario is, if I try and stop you and you fail to stop for me, you decide to run away. We're now in a pursuit, and it should be a pursuit. You should be stopped because you're running for a reason. You've done bad things. But parking specifically, I totally get why. If we don't stop, and then a lot of parking enforcement officers are actually on foot. So anyway, I'm going too far down the rabbit hole of this, and I thought it was funny. What is this? 23 with full Jeep permit, had a buddy in the backseat drinking a beer. What if I got stopped? Then you would get a charge because you can't drive with open alcohol in your vehicle, and it's not legal. So you would be charged. Yeah, they would probably be charged too. We'd probably charge everybody because, yeah, but definitely the driver. Let's see here. Can I pass on the right lane if person is sitting in the left lane? What do you mean? Can you pass a vehicle in the left lane by going faster in the right lane in a multi-lane highway? Perfectly legal. You don't. The no passing rule is about using the shoulder for passing vehicles that are waiting to make a left turn. So it's misunderstood by most. Morning from Audrey, Alberta. Did I pronounce that right? Audrey. I want to know now. But good morning to you, Jack. We talked about the dog in the car. That's a duplicate. Good morning from Northeastern Ontario. Good morning to you too. Let's see here. Can a person get a ticket if their vehicle is so dirty and have garbage where the gas and brake pedals are? A bottle can keep pedals from pressing. Yes, you can. Absolutely, Northern Pike. So having an insecure load in your vehicle, or it would be absolutely something. And I've laid charges. I had a guy who was driving with cans, like loose cans, filling the entire vehicle, and they all slid forward and were everywhere around him. So absolutely, you can absolutely do it. Okay. Madeline says, yes, Airdrie. Am I saying Airdrie right? Okay. What do we got here? Carl Freeman says, good morning, Sean. Good morning, Carl. We got here, search of everyone. I don't know what this is. Okay. We talked about that. Why are speeding tickets not proportional to your salary? Rich people can speed and pay off fines. Let's talk about that, because I think it's a great idea. This is where in some countries, speeding tickets for executives and major companies have been in the hundreds of thousands because it's based on their income. And I think that's a great way to dissuade people from being stupid. And speeding is actually stupid. It's not safe. Thus, it's not smart. Thus, it's stupid. So, yeah, I love the idea, but there is a commonality in that there is an impact for all road users, regardless of their income. And that is demerit point system and the consequence of possibly losing their license. So while the financial impact may differ, there is a common impact of license, and losing your license is bad. So what's the deal? Why? Actually, I've got another angle. If you have financial difficulty because you can't afford to pay the ticket, you can go to the court and say, I have no money. Can you reduce the fine? And they will. You can also say, I'd like to make a payment schedule and pay over time, and they will, or at least they can. So while the rich can pay it off, and those who don't have funds available, they have options to make it less impactful. But the consequences in terms of points are the same for everyone. But I'm not against the idea of charging people based on their salary, because why shouldn't we make it mean something? I mean, bail is set for like if I go to bail someone out of jail, they look at what's dear to me, what's a lot of money to me. Well, if I make $1,000 a year, $1,000 would be my entire salary. I couldn't do that. But if I make $1 million a year, then a substantial amount of money would be needed as a surety to motivate me to do the right thing. Anyway, it's a deep rabbit hole. What do we got here? Mean Mac says he's answering every question one at a time. No need to send your questions more than once. Thank you very much, Mean Mac. I haven't been talking about this lately because it really hasn't been an issue, but please don't spam the chat. Spam is for cans. Apparently, people open these and eat what's inside them. I don't, but it's not for chat rooms. Please don't repeat yourself repeatedly because it doesn't make anything easier for me to read and slows me down, doesn't speed me up. Let's see here. Talked about that. Here's one I've never heard before. They smell bacon, which means they might live on a farm and are cooking their flock. I guess sheep or flock. Anyway, I don't know. I guess they think it's funny or mean. It's neither. It's stupid. Let's see here. You need a doctor. I don't know who needs a doctor. That was, oh, it's that particular person. Maybe it was the person. Oh, that's actually a fantastic response. So they said, I smell bacon. The response was, you need a doctor. And that makes sense too. If you smell burnt toast, it might be a brain issue. Sean's Don Valley Parkway story is why we can't have unlimited speeds. The windy part of the Don, I hate going just 10 over or 90 or even 80 is safer with the following too close. Okay, less speed. Okay, long message. What he's saying is, yeah, speed is not good. And there's something called is it the Harris Harris curve? It's a deadly curve on the FGX, and there's little visibility. You can't see what's going on there. Police officers have died in that location because of speeding vehicles. And 90 or 80, I mean, 90 is the speed limit, so 90 is the absolute limit. 80 is definitely the way to go. Okay, Hank the pilot. I like your response too. Are you craving attention? That one's a repeat. Okay. So Anonymous says, I pass semi-trucks at four-way stops all the time. They take forever. Is that illegal? We're talking about passing a vehicle that is in motion and taking too long for your liking and you're behind them. Like you're going into oncoming traffic in the intersection. You don't think that's unsafe or possibly illegal? All right. Let's see here. Why am I able to change lanes? Oh, no, I didn't press it fast enough and everything scrolled up. Stand by. I'm rolling on back. Here we are. Why am I able to change lanes at an intersection but not pass a semi at a four-way stop then? Changing lanes in an intersection is not illegal because you have multiple lanes. Driving into oncoming traffic is driving into oncoming traffic. It's different. We're talking when I'm talking about at a four-way stop, we're talking about within one lane in each direction, two-lane road. Is that a problem? It's a potential problem. Is it a specific answer? Sorry, a specific law saying thou shalt not do it? I'd see it as careless. I don't see it as breaking a law that isn't written. There's no specific law about passing a vehicle that's trying to cross an intersection. It's just a common sense thing, a bad idea thing, and it could be considered a careless driving thing. Chase opened a can of worms, yes. Let's see here. Okay. I don't know what happens next comment is, but there was a funny thing here. YT Bike Boy. How you doing? Welcome back. Long time no see. Yesterday I was driving up to a light 10 over. I know it's illegal. and I was past the area to be able to stop in time. Light turned yellow, car in the intersection, pulls out. Was I in the wrong? This is the same question. Maybe it was you who called in. We had this on the radio just a little while ago. So you were crossing through, and I mean, you were in the wrong to be 10 over. And maybe if you weren't doing 10 over, you would have been able to stop safely. So, yeah, in that sense, you were in the wrong. In terms of the person who made the turn in front of you, they were absolutely in the wrong and would have been responsible. But the law says yellow means stop unless it's unsafe to do so. You're saying by your own admission it was unsafe because you were speeding, is how I'm interpreting it. If a police officer witnessed it, it would change things. If there was no officer present, they wouldn't be able to speak to the speed, likely unless it was a major collision where they did drag testing, because we do for fatals and majors. We would actually have a reconstruction unit go out, and they would find out how fast you're going based on the skid marks. Let's see here. Oh, more intelligence. Redneck politician says traffic cops are the new version of government enforced taxation. No, redneck. We are people who are trying to make the roads safer, stopping people from breaking the law and making the roads less safe for everybody. I don't care about fines. We don't actually care about fines at all. It's all about preventing you from doing things stupid by giving a financial impact if you choose to do stuff that's stupid. Don't break the law. You won't pay anything. Traffic cops don't stop people from driving safely. They stop people who are breaking the law and then hold them accountable. So if it was truly government enforced taxation, we'd be giving tickets to everybody for doing nothing. But your point is that you have none. Okay, point that is. You have no point. You're not making a point. You're wasting time. Okay, moving on. So Kabul says, I have a very general question that applies to all OPP and safety. You didn't ask the question. What is this? Michael says, anonymous, you are not an emergency responder. No point to stop at next red or stop sign seconds early. I'm not sure. I'm not following what we're getting into. I jumped into a conversation I wasn't part of. Redneck politician says, burnouts are awesome. I don't disagree in the right environment, like where it's legal, like on a track, like, but they're not legal. So don't do them. Awesome or not. Sandeep should really be banned from the channel because it's a silly comment and he knows it. 23 with a full G permit had an idiot passenger. We talked about that. Did they say idiot passenger last time? But yeah, I don't know if they said idiot the first time or last time. Anyway, moving on. It's 11:02. We haven't talked about employment, and we should. But I see there's a gazillion messages in queue, so I want to keep going. So maybe we'll end with employment. Yeah, that's what we'll do. If you're interested in joining the police service, while I'm sitting here looking for questions to answer, know that you can actually go here. Now I've gone and done it. Now I said it, so now I feel obligated to check out our TPS careers page. Here we go. Should really bookmark that. I'm on a borrowed computer because mine is being sent to headquarters to be repaired or replaced, whichever one happens first. Okay, if you're considering becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service, go to this website, check it out, because all the information you need to know is going to be right there. Obviously, the big one, police constable, click on that for more information. Communications operator, parking enforcement officer, last I looked, which was yesterday, we're hiring for them. Let's have a look, see what we're hiring for right now, because this changes. Postings go up, postings go down. If you don't apply while the posting is up, you don't get to be considered for the position. Temporary administrative clerk. This is a great way to get into the police service. This is how my wife joined the police service, became a temp and then eventually got full-time employment. It is a way of filling vacancies, and maybe you'll be bouncing around the service a little bit, but you'll be eligible to apply for stuff. That's really good. Parking enforcement officer. We talked about that. Auxiliary volunteer is how I started with the service. I started as a volunteer. I loved it so much, I decided to become a court officer as well. I did both for many years and became a police officer later. E-learning specialist. I don't actually know what that is, but I'm assuming you specialize on e-learning. Yeah, that's a posting that's offered now. Communications operator and developer in the digital team. Comms operators are the people that answer the phone and dispatch police officers, the unsung heroes. And of course, parking enforcement, also heroes. They're the ones who keep the city moving. You may not like getting a ticket for not doing the right thing when it comes to parking, but the truth is they help keep the city moving. All right. That was my quick tidbit on that. Let's go back to questions, because questions are really what the show's all about. Where is my, of course I lost my place. Can you legally drive with one hand if the other one's broken? Legally, you need to be driving and operating your vehicle safely. If that broken hand prevents you from doing so, you could be charged. If your doctor made comments saying that your vehicle, or that you cannot operate a motor vehicle, you shouldn't, guess what? It's going to be in the notes. They're going to make notes about the fact that they said you should not be driving. And then if you get into a collision and the insurance company goes and gets your doctor's notes, because they're going to request your full medical stuff, it's going to come out that the doctor said you shouldn't be driving, and then they're not going to want to cover you, especially if you're trying to get sued or suing somebody else. Anyway, yeah, it depends if you can do it safely. It's not specifically illegal unless you're suspended medically, which is different. Okay, Question: license plate from the back of a pickup truck is supposed to be moved onto a truck or is the license plate? No, you don't. You don't move the license plate when you're towing. The vehicle that you're towing, the camper that you're towing, gets its own license plate, but you don't move the truck license plate behind. Yeah, that's you don't do that. But good question. I see cars making a U-turn on a red light. Is that allowed? It's very common in my area. It's also very illegal in all areas. A red light is a red light. You cannot proceed past the white line unless you're doing what's legal, which is making a right turn on a red. One is safe to do so if it's not prohibited, but making a U-turn, absolutely not legal on a red light. You're entering the intersection unlawfully. They should not do that. And it drives me bananas that they do that. A lot of things that drive me bananas, apparently. Things just updated. Scrolling back, scrolling back. That's one thing I would change in the software if I could. Michael L. says, Sean, I appreciate what you do, but there have been increases to stunt charges, laws on car meets, but every day we still have people drifting in my parking lot or cutting up traffic on the roads. It's a call the police situation. Here's the biggest problem. Laws are fantastic, but if you don't have the sufficient number of people to enforce said laws, you can't enforce said laws. So we need more police officers. We need more money to fund police officers. We need more applicants to fill the uniform roles that we have available. And we don't have the money or as many people as once were. Why? Because the media and many in the public have vilified police officers. And then we waste a lot of time with these offenses, and the people who are guilty then go to court and try and get out of being guilty, and it costs money. So it's a money problem. The laws are there. Yeah, but I feel you. I doing this stuff and putting people's lives at risk and making noise and damaging property. It's disgusting. Yeah. Kabul says, but a major number of those do not have sufficient English language skills but drive in Ontario. Anyway, you don't need to speak the language to drive in Ontario. You can get the tests in different languages, from my understanding. So that's not a reason to prevent someone to drive, right? That's not that shouldn't block someone from accessing a driver's license. Being a safe driver or not should. Okay. Michael. Okay, we're going to keep going. Talked about that. Can you have a driver's license on your phone and not your physical card? Not in Ontario. Well, I shouldn't say that. If you're an American and you were issued an electronic license, we'll accept it. But if you're an Ontario driver with an Ontario license, you can't, because we don't offer that. You can't take a picture of it. You need the requirement of the law, or the requirement of the Highway Traffic Act, is that you surrender the actual card. Nothing else will be accepted. Does the OPP still have motorcycles as patrol vehicles? Yes, Anthony, and so does the Toronto Police, and so do most police services. Now, when I first started in 2000, they had just phased out sidecars in Toronto, because people used to ride motorcycles even in the winter. And if you go back a generation before, when you became an officer, you were probably starting in traffic, and you were probably starting on motorcycle, as opposed to now where you start on a car and work your way up to a motorcycle. So motorcycle is what it was. Rain, snow, doesn't matter. It was a bike. But now they're mostly specialty vehicles for the either the enforcement units or motor squad-esque units. Like for our guys, they're out there they have other duties outside of enforcement, like, for instance, dignitary escorts. It's cool stuff, though. I was a member of the motor squad. Best time of my life. Ended up in a crash. Thus, I am now behind a desk. Okay. Oh. Chase says, what's the best way to handle a traffic stop if you have an aggressive dog in the back seat? I have two going through training right now, and they would not be pleased if someone came up to the window. One thing is, dogs tend to pay attention to the owner. So if you're nervous, they get nervous. So that's a big thing. So you want to stay calm. Having them tethered is a good start. Opening the window, not to them, but to you, your window, and let the officer know that your dogs tend to be a little aggressive, and to let the officer know that they're tethered, secured, or crated is even better for if you have an aggressive dog, because then they're in a crate, and they're not really going to harm anybody other than make some noise. So yeah, crating might be the best way to go. but be open and honest and talk about it and stay calm. Let's see here. Oh, so Sandeep says I would. Okay, so Sandeep was asking about having relations of one sort or another while driving, and whether or not that was legal. And people jumped on him, and as did I, because it's not appropriate. But they wanted to know if they could have things of a sexual nature while driving, and no, it's not appropriate. And could it be drive while crowded? Yes, which would be a charge. Could it be careless driving? Yes. Is it dangerous to have another person's, you know, body or parts near an airbag that could be deployed? It's going to be dangerous. It's just dangerous. You'd be charged. Go get a room. Don't change lanes while making a turn. Greg, you're absolutely right. Lane changes, wide turns, those are improper, not legal. Sweet, haven't seen any this year. Not sure. I forgot what you asked about earlier, Anthony, but I'm glad that it's sweet. Michael says, yeah, it's definitely careless driving. That's the Sandeep. I agree, definitely careless. What is this? What's the story on opposing traffic at an intersection, turning left and right at the same time? Well, the intersection shouldn't have you meeting in the middle. If you're so far into the intersection that you've met in the middle, it's a small intersection or you've gone too far. So I'm not picking up what you're putting down if you're asking something other than what I just said. If insurance promises not to raise insurance during their offer and then they do the next year, are they wrong? It's a private company. They're in a contract with you. Read the contract. Make sure you know what you're reading. They might give you a certain period of time that they won't raise it, or maybe they won't raise it unless you do something to cause it to be raised, like have a collision or get a ticket. But it's a private organization, wrong or right, it's up to them. And as long as they're following the contract that you signed with them, then they can do whatever they want. Okay. Is a sun visor okay for front windshield? If you're talking about a tinted window stripe across the top, then they're not legal on any vehicle 2017 or newer. You cannot put any tint on the front windshield. Not lawful. So don't do that. What about ridiculous diesel mods? I've seen a car with a chimney out of the hood. That would not be legal. You can't have exhaust in front of the passenger compartment. Not legal. Where'd you see that? Not a good idea. Okay. Hank the pilot says, and follow up to the camper, if the license is hiding by the truck camper, then it has to be placed where it is seen. But you're talking about the license plate of the vehicle has to be removed. Maybe there's something about campers. Like I'm assuming a camper is a trailer gets its own license plate. If I'm wrong, somebody let me know. That has, I mean, obviously Hank the pilot has some experience here, otherwise he wouldn't be saying anything. I've never had a camper. I'm treating it as a trailer for my answer. But Tim appreciates the answer, which is good. We have learned people in here. Sometimes I don't know everything, but I want to know more now. I got to make a note. Camper and plates. Okay. Buck says, keep up the good work. And Buck, I still haven't been able to follow up with you on that. I was on vacation last week. So yeah, Buck sent me an email. All right. Sorry for the silence as I read. I'm trying to scan. Okay. Have you seen the BC lawyer that keeps trying different foods and how they affect BAC on the but Tim, here's I have seen some of this, but they're dealing with the mouth alcohol. If I take mouthwash, put it in my mouth and blow, it's the mouth alcohol. But if you wait 15 minutes after consuming something and blow, if they're doing that, then I would have they would have some validity. But we don't do tests within 15 minutes of consuming anything. So maybe I missed something. I have to go back and look. BC lawyer, I think, 'cause they did something on the sushi and the right. Anyway, 15 minutes. We wait 15 minutes to avoid mouth alcohol. And if you are consuming something that makes your blood alcohol go up, then you have blood alcohol that's gone up. And yeah, Storm Gaming Official says, good morning, Sean. Good morning to you. Oh no, I was rear-ended at a stop sign and my dog fell off the front seat and I broke both front legs. That's terrible. Yeah, but that's tether or crate maybe would have prevented that. So, sorry for your pooch. I hope they're doing better. I like animals. Sometimes I like them more than people. It's funny. Most people who are really animal people, like really, they, they make a good point that they're very good, and people aren't always. But anyway, Greg was talking. Oh, this is during when I was on the radio. Okay, so we're going back. So we're only at 10:42 for the questions I'm answering. Does parking enforcement have to give physical ticket to car on the windshield? So, if you were to drive away, it's called a drive away, and they can mail you the ticket. They don't have to um, make it to the front of your car to serve it. It's better if they do that. They'll take pictures of it, but if you drive away, you're still getting it. Okay. Thoughts on the Justin Timberlake DWI? I didn't know that they were charged. I don't follow Justin's goings on. Is this new, like on Twitter today? Yeah, I don't know. Impaired driving, not acceptable. I don't care who it is. Okay. Lucas was just on call. What's this? I never run reds on a bike. That's scary. Other laws are mild suggestions. Reezy says, no, they're all serious. Like, we're serious about all the laws. Okay. Question. We talked about that. The physical driver's license. Yeah. So they really wanted to know about carrying it. You have to carry a wallet. This parking. We talked about that. Please don't repeat the questions. Mel says, my question is too long for this comment section. I understand that is a pain. If you go to TrafficCop.ca, I have a form. You can actually generate an email to me and I'll be able to answer longer form questions for you. Obviously not during the live show, but I'll get you eventually. What do we got here? Is there any benefit or points in process for hiring if person is athletic? Like for the application process to become a police officer? Well, you'll have less of a difficult time with the physical components of the testing. Do you get bonus points for having, defined pecs? No. I mean, I don't think so. Can an MTO give a speeding ticket on the highway? They do, but they focus primarily on commercial motor vehicles, but they have the authority to stop anybody and issue tickets for that. Nicole Baird says, I have a question. I generally have answers. A lot of people ask this question. I don't know why it's so, interesting for people to accelerate quickly. Is there laws or penalties if you accelerate from a stop to the posted speed limit quickly? It could be careless driving, could be stunt driving, could be dangerous driving. All depends on the observations and the interpretations of the officer at the time of the offense, if there was an offense. But why hammer down at every intersection? Like, it's not good for gas, it's not good for your car. It scares the crap out of people on the street, and that's really where things start to go south. Could be considered racing if you're, someone else is perceived to be racing. You could find yourself in a place you don't want to be. Is it possible to vote so we don't need a front plate? It was brought up. Our premier actually wanted to get rid of the plates when he came into office and asked the learned chiefs at the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, and they came back and said, no, we need them. We need to be able to identify vehicles coming or going, and that's really a good reason. I was in Florida this year, recent December. I think it was in December, and I never paid attention to the fact that all their parking signs say you have to nose in. You have to pull forward into parking spots because they only have rear plates, and when they drive around looking for license plates to verify how long you've been in the parking spot, well, they can't see your plate. You get a ticket. Gary says, notification happened to me. No ticket on windshield. Found out when we got a mail with added fine. Yeah. What is the age for kids to stop using car seat in Ontario? 8 years, 80 pounds, 4'9". Any one of those three qualify legally to be in a seatbelt only scenario. However, don't be in a rush to get rid of the booster. Although it's legal, it may not be the safest, and every child is different in terms of size and weight and so on. So, yeah, you can go to TrafficCop.ca and there's a chart and there's some discussions. There's a link to the what's it called? What is it called? Hang on a second. Let me flag this. I'll go here. I haven't said it in a while. SIPSAC. If you go to this website, you can actually review some of the things that they talk about for what are good tests to determine if your child is ready to be seatbelt only. But don't be in a rush. So, can I ask a non-traffic question? People do all the time, Dave. Feel free to ask a non-traffic question. And Greg Marshall jumped on to say, yes, you can, because you can. What is this? Oh, I know this is not a law show, but is there a statute of limitations for traffic offense, especially a red light camera ticket, Section 11B of the Charter? 11B of the Charter is always in play. So you can make an 11B application if you attend court and determine that it's been more, what used to be 12 months, I think is now 18 months, maybe longer, but it's an application. It's not a guarantee. You make the application, you put the motion forward, and you may or may not be able to dismiss your case based on that. If you're talking about laying charges, we have 6 months to lay HTA charges. We have 3 years to lay insurance-related which is called the Compulsory Automotive Insurance Act charges, 3 years. So it depends. So laying and then the other stuff is court. What do we got here? 11:22. Things are really time is flying. We're going to stop at 11:30. 8 minutes to go. Just because I got stuff and things to do. Is picking fruits from roadside trees legal? Stealing people's fruit? I can't imagine that would be illegal. I don't think it's legal unless it's public property, and I doubt people's trees on their property is. Anyway, I'm not the roadside tree picking law guy. That's not my specialty. I'm just assuming that it wouldn't be because it belongs to somebody. In fact, a friend of mine was explaining to me that their neighbors were tapping their trees for maple syrup, like tapping the trees across the street on their property. Their neighbor was tapping the trees. That to me is stealing. But it's an interesting conversation when the person stealing your sap is your neighbor as opposed to someone just driving by. By the way, if you tap a tree just driving by, I think that's really next level, not legal. What is this? Mel says maybe YouTube doesn't have this limit. Oh, yes, other platforms have more space. So if you can't ask long questions, Mel, on TikTok, YouTube might be able to. Facebook for sure. People have written books on Facebook while watching us. Okay, not a whole book, but a whole chapter. All right. Talked about this already. Scrolling down. Scrolling. Okay. Tim Shaw says, I just got my new car. Congratulations, Tim. What would the likelihood of getting a ticket if I get pulled over and I have an email of my insurance, but I haven't received the paperwork? So when you get the 30-day permit, the 30-day temporary notice, we'll accept that. And the as long as your insurance provider provides electronic copies, like there is an app for most insurance companies. My company isn't on in this decade in terms of technology. They still send the pink stuff, but we will accept electronic versions of insurance proof if it's through their app or in the situation where you get the temporary 30-day. We may verify that it's actually in play, but you'd be okay with that. What'd you get, Tim? I like new cars. You're a brave person with these interest rates to buy a new car, unless you just drop the cash on the table. But it's interesting. I've been talking to and reading about the fact that new car sales are down. It's expensive. But now I want to know. And Tim's a long-time listener, and that's why I'm talking to Tim like I know him, because I met his wife and son. And although I've not met him in person, we talk all the time because the show happens all the time, and Tim's always here. Anyway, moving on. Let's see here. I don't know who CJ's making comments to. Nolan says from Brampton here. Hello, Nolan from Brampton here. What is your opinion? Oh, I saw a video where a cop gave a ticket to a guy who was in a drive-through and was paying with his phone. Actually, you didn't. You saw a video where someone claimed to get a ticket for a drive-through use of phones, and it didn't happen. I know the case you're talking about. It was in Saskatchewan. The officer was made observations of the vehicle driving on the road, and then followed them into a parking lot where the driver was still on the phone, and made a big case about how they were targeted on private property and it wasn't lawful. But it's not what happened, according to the RCMP, who made a statement to the press to clarify. I think it's very interesting. But yeah, it's not illegal here. It's not illegal there to use it on private property. It's not a good idea. It's not illegal. All right. Ricky Boy says, if they stopped everyone doing 10 or 20 over, they'd be awful busy. Yes, we would. And we do focus on the people who are going faster, which means that we've unintentionally made the unofficial and not actual, unofficial speed limit about 110 to 120, because that's what everyone does and doesn't get caught because we're too busy looking for the people 130 and 140 because we can't stop everybody, which is why I think we should have an automated enforcement system brought out in Ontario where every road and every intersection has an automated red light camera and an automated speed camera, because no one should speed anywhere. It's against the law. It's unsafe and it's generally not smart. But we can't stop everybody, which is why we need the help of AI and technology. How low can how low can your car be? Generally speaking, it's about a 2-inch drop. Most vehicles. And the reason I say 2 inches, it's not, there are obviously vehicles that are lowered more. It depends on the vehicle, depends on the geometry of the suspension system. It depends if you get to the point where you're now making contact with your tire and body, your tire and frame. If you have a non-functioning suspension system as a result of you chopping springs and such, you can't be too low. There's also a minimum and a maximum height from the center of your headlights to the ground, which I never knew about until I did. So that means nobody else knows about it because I find out weird, geeky stuff about law when it comes to traffic. So, yeah, it depends. But everything I mentioned is in play. Okay. Sean, I got to know the rules about exhausts. Stock 9th gen. The deal is you need to have your muffler, you need to have your resonator, you need to have your whatchamacallit, the other thing that escapes my mind right now. But you can't have a straight pipe, you can't have what's it called, a valve to bypass. There's a bunch of things you can't have. You can't make excessive amounts of noise or smoke. So what are the rules? You can't make something super noisy. Your stock pipe is probably going to be the best pipe for you. Even high performance pipes might be okay. Talk to your mechanic. Find out what's going to be legal. Not what people aren't getting in trouble for, but what's legal. Jordan says, good morning from Calgary, Alberta, my friends. Well, good morning, Jordan, to you. What is this? What are your thoughts on people who smoke in their cars and what is the process of pulled over? If you're talking about weed, then it's illegal. Like absolutely illegal. Private property on the road, doesn't matter, it's illegal. If you get pulled over for it and you have like if it's actually present, you should get charged for it. If you're under the influence because you smoked and then drove, then you should get arrested for it. If you're talking about cigarettes, it's legal as long as it's not a work vehicle, and it's legal as long as you don't have someone under the age of 16 in your vehicle, because then you can be charged for that too. People carrying mattresses on top of a car legal? Depends on the means of securement. Is it rated straps, or is everybody in the car reaching out and holding on to the mattress? It has to be rated straps. It has to be securely secured to your vehicle. Otherwise, it's illegal. Is it true cops have no discretion in reducing a driver's speeds during a stunt driving traffic stop? They may have a unit-specific policy of not doing that. Why would we? I've reduced a stunt driving charge, and then I got told that I wasn't supposed to, but I did it. It was a long time ago. I wouldn't do it anymore, though. There's no reason for me to do it. That said, there's no law that says I can't do it that I'm aware of. We can reduce anything. We don't have to charge you. We can give you a warning. Would we? Why? No. Stunt driving is incredibly dangerous. I would not give someone a warning or a reduction after that one time that I did. Mind you, that I will tell you that the person that I gave that stunt drive that I gave a break to and didn't give a stunt driving charge to is the reason I stopped giving out warnings, like of any kind. I stopped reducing. I stopped giving out warnings because that person who was doing 50 over in a 40. Still went to court, even though I reduced it. Like I gave them the gift, and they still went and fought it in court. So I said, okay, that's it. They ruined it for everybody else. You can thank her. Okay. MJ, why should the higher salary be great or fine? We're individuals. MJ, I don't know what you said. I don't know. I don't know what you meant. What is this? I have a friend who used to be a stupid guy and used to speed. He got a ticket once, and now every time. Oh, I don't see the rest of it. That's why I'm like, doesn't make sense because it was an incomplete statement. Okay. Do you think that non-violent offenses should result in prison time? Josh. Depends on what you're talking about, Josh. Do you mean stunt driving? There's options for jail time, but you're actually doing stuff. You're actually being violent in a car. You're violently operating your vehicle in a way that could result in serious injury and death. Is it violent? You can articulate either way, but that's why there's also an option to just give someone a $2,000 to $10,000 fine and a 1 to 3 year driving, or a 1 to 3 year driving prohibition on a first offense. It's an option to put them in jail. So do I think that everything requires jail? If you can't figure out to stop your behavior, let's say it's your third conviction, your second conviction, or there was really extenuating circumstances, then I would argue that jail would be appropriate. Okay. Why are motorcycles allowed to pass cars on highways and traffic or not allowed? Not allowed. Not allowed at all. It's illegal all across Canada. In Los Angeles, it's legal. It's legal but dangerous and acknowledged by police to be dangerous. What do you do about slow drivers in the passing lane? Are we talking about people doing the speed limit, or do you mean actually slow drivers? If someone's a slow driver doing 60, unnecessary slow driving in any lane on a highway would be appropriate. If you're talking about someone doing the speed limit, then you're speeding and you should slow down. That's my opinion. Could we charge someone? We could. I wouldn't. Thank you, Michael, for policing Carl and reminding him that he's in queue, but which this is old. Can I have sealed alcohol in my passenger seat after leaving the LCBO? Yes, Caleb, you can. Sealed from factory alcohol. It can be stored anywhere, although I will say that it's probably not a good idea to put it somewhere that it could become, a projectile in a collision, that it could break, because that's, you paid money for that alcohol, and it could hurt you. Alcohol that could break and be wasted or hurt you bad, but it's legal. Logan says, you at work? I am at work. I'm a media relations and social media officer, and this is work, answering your questions. Am I allowed to drive on a shoulder to turn right when cars are at a red light? Technically, no, not really. There's a pass on right if a vehicle is stopped and waiting. So maybe if there's a paved shoulder, if it's a dirt shoulder, no. I'm extrapolating my interpretation to include that of an intersection for a right turn. Normally, it's for going straight. Like if you read the rules, let's go and read the rules. Because I've never looked at it in conjunction with a right turn. Okay, pass on right. So there's pass on right not in safety. The driver of a motor vehicle may overtake and pass to the right of another vehicle only where the movement can be made in safety, and the vehicle overtaken is making or about to make a left turn or has signaled his or her intention to make a left turn, is made on a highway with an unobstructed pavement of sufficient width for 2 or more lines of vehicles in each direction, or is made on a highway designated for use of one-way traffic. I don't think it meets the requirement. I don't think that driving on the shoulder for that purpose, unless the vehicle, based on this definition, is signaling left and just stopped at the red light, I don't think meets it. Is it going to be the end of the world if you do it? Are we hunting for people doing that? Probably not. If it led to a collision, maybe. Motorcycles need to be fine when passing on the highway, when traffic on the Gardner and DVP. Yeah, and Queen, it is, or Queenie, So Queen E, is that a pound sign? No, you're using pound signs for E's. So Queen E. The deal is, or maybe it's just a font. Anyway, it's careless driving, careless driving, stunt driving, or criminal dangerous driving to lane split, especially at speed. It all depends on what observations we're making, but it's absolutely illegal. And when we can, first of all, when we catch it, and when we catch them, we do prosecute them. What license do I have to be to train a G1 driver? To train them professionally, you need to be a licensed driving instructor. To supervise them as a G1 driver or as a licensed driver, you have to have a G class license and have accumulated at least 4 years experience from the time, including your G2. G2 and G, you do 2 years as G2, 2 years as G, you would have a sufficient time to supervise. But look for the dots in the bottom right-hand corner that are vertically arranged to the left of your mini-me photo, which is the bottom right. If you have those dots, you're good to go. If you don't have those dots, you might need to get a new license until you get them. Don't go without confirmation, because both of you be in hot water. Okay. Queenie says that they got a ticket for having a sealed alcohol in the passenger seat. Then you should have fought that ticket because it was not correct. You can have sealed from factory anywhere in the vehicle. Let's see here. If you had broken the seal, like you had a screw cap or you recorked it after you opened it, once the seal's being broken, then yes, it has to be in the trunk or in a out of reach of the driver, not specifically the trunk, in luggage or in baggage, out of reach. At a left turn signal, you miss the signal and it goes green. Can you not go and wait till the next light? Are you behind the line or are you not behind the line? Because if you're in the intersection, you have an obligation to complete your turn. So when it's safe to do so. Where is stop line? At the stop sign or the painted line, or does it matter? So it depends on the intersection. It's the stop line. If there's no stop line, the crosswalk, like before it, so you're not in the crosswalk, or the edge of the sidewalk, the sign. It depends, but it's actually very clearly defined, and so much so that I want to read it to you now. Stop sign. So this is what it says. Every driver or streetcar operator approaching a stop sign at an intersection shall stop his or her vehicle or a streetcar at the marked stop line, or if none, then immediately before entering the nearest crosswalk, or if none, then immediately before entering the intersection. I seem to think there was used to be, or maybe still is, a full definition also including sidewalk, but maybe not. Maybe I'm remembering things from a past life. I don't know. For some reason, I thought sidewalk was included in that. All right. Boom, boom, boom. Caleb likes answering questions a lot. All right, asking questions. Oliver says, there was a video on 6Buzz where the Indian man has a knife in his hand trying to attack someone on the road. Yes, I saw the video. What is the question? Okay. Before they would stop because they're quotas. Angelica. We don't have quotas or quotas. No quotas or quotas. We don't have quotas. We don't get a toaster for issuing more tickets. It's all about changing driver behavior. But many people think otherwise. Charlotte says, good morning, Sean. Good morning to you. We hear. Oh. I missed the question. Is a coach allowed to be in the third lane where it says when this is no commercial vehicle? A coach, like a coach bus that is not isn't. Hey, I don't know. It's a bus lane. It has to be specific buses. I don't know if you qualify. So I don't have an answer for you. Let's see here. Do me a favor. Go to TrafficCop.ca and send me an email through the submission form. I'd like to look it up for you. So I don't have an answer for you. Sharon Morton says, hi, glad to see you. Glad to see you too. Can I have windshield tint? That's Tay who wants to know, and the answer is no. Is it illegal to drive without doors on a Jeep? No, it was designed to have removable doors. You can take them off, absolutely. You have to relocate your mirrors. You need to have mirrors. At least you have to have at least one mirror. Let's see here. DUI over 80 and have been in a single vehicle collision. What are the possible what? I don't know what you're asking exactly. What are the possible will happen with what? You have a DUI, which you've been convicted for. You've been in a single vehicle accident. Are you talking about what are your insurance rates going to be? What happens if you like? What is your? I don't understand your question. Michael says, could Sean bring in a personal laptop or desktop and use that for live? All other work on TPS computers, of course. I have multiple computers here. What is the reason to do that? Is stock Harley Davidson exhaust within legal noise parameters when the engine is revved or accelerating? Yes, but behavioral could be still like if you were winding it up to 9,000, that's still creating unnecessary noise. It's not required for the safe operation of your vehicle. The noise that would be created at highway speeds is not acceptable for the side road. So it depends. Can speed cameras capture a driver not speeding if another driver sped by while you both pass? I don't think that it would work properly. There's a very specific, like it's synchronized to sensors in the ground. I'm pretty sure it knows exactly what it's getting. And you would have two vehicles. One would be a blur and one would not be. And it should be able to differentiate. Also, those are reviewed by humans. I also note that 12 minutes ago, I said I was going to end the stream and I haven't ended it. So I'm going to scroll through and look for a couple things here real quick. Why did I get pulled over for drinking non-alcoholic beer behind the wheel? Because it looks like beer and we have to investigate. We can't tell whether or not it's non-alcoholic, but if it looks like a beer and it's labeled similar to that of a beer, we treat it as a beer. Okay. Buck says, this is lit. Cool. Lit is good. It's not words I use, but I'll go with it. Actually, my nephew recently told me that something we did together was fire. Yeah. I took him to enjoy a hobby that I enjoy, and he thought it was fire. There was fire involved. Okay. What else we got here? Oh. So the follow-up to the over 80 and single vehicle collision, you want to know what the possible fine or charges are for DUI? It's getting arrested for DUI. The collision, it depends on what you did. I don't know if you like what are the possible charges for being found guilty for all of those? Depends on what you're charged for. It's too vague a question, and we don't have the time to go through it. But if you can expect to spend about $30,000 defending yourself for an impaired driving offense. 30,000, 45,000. Yeah. I mean, consequences could be jail. I mean, it could be anything. All right. If you get pulled over, do you have 24 hours to present your license if you forgot your wallet? Nope. Failing to present it at the moment that you were pulled over is enough to violate the law, and then you could end up being charged. And there's no undo button for it. So don't forget it. Do red light cameras always flash when taking a picture? I don't know. By the way, great episode of TPS Traffic Jam, which is the podcast we do, where I actually interview the team responsible for that program. So if you're interested in watching that, go check it out on YouTube. All right. What is this? How do you feel about the new law about not passing people on bikes on roadsides? I'm not familiar with a new law that says you can't pass people on bikes on roadsides. I don't know why anyone would ever do that. So please enlighten me. I don't know what that is because I'm not familiar. All right, trying to scroll through finding good stuff before we sign off in 5 minutes. Tinted plate covers not legal. Clear plate covers not legal. Plate frames that don't cover the entire plate not legal. They're not legal. I'm on your website watching this live stream. What is this? I'm on your website watching this live stream. We're here with me. I know the business you're in, but I'm trying to figure out how what we're talking about. Taking it out of context. Okay. Boom. All right. Sadly, okay, 1 second. How are people allowed to drive scooters on the road, but people with dirt bikes cannot? How is that fair? I'm assuming they meant to say fair. Jordan, dirt bikes are clearly motorcycles with no exemption, and they're not motorcycles that are legally permitted to be on the road because they're off-road motorcycles. If you had a dual sport motorcycle, then you were one with that's legal for the road. It was designed with signals and horn and headlights and so on, and then you'd be a licensed and insured rider. When you talk about dirt bikes, those are not set up for the road. E-bikes and e-scooters, where permitted, because e-scooters have conditions. City of Toronto, you're not allowed to have an e-scooter. But if you're talking about an e-bike, well, they're allowed as long as they conform. Now, dirt bikes very often are capable of tremendous speed and power. E-bikes are not allowed to be capable of exceeding 32 kilometers an hour, can't have more than 500 watts in terms of a motor, can't weigh more than 120 kilos, or they have to have functional pedals. They're e-bikes, and they're covered under a specific law. But dirt bikes are not. Oh, they're covered and saying you can't do what you want to do with them. Yeah. I thought you'd be more impressed that or disappointed that ATVs are allowed to be driven on the road. That I have more of an issue with that, because ATV and dirt bike, aren't they the same? But ATVs also have to be licensed and insured and so on. What do we got here? Scrolling, trying to find something. Don't know what the heck that is. What do I have here? Jeep with no side mirrors allowed. You need to have at least one mirror facing the rear. If your windshield mirror sufficiently provides a clear view to the rear, technically that would be enough for law. But the more mirrors, the better. You cannot be able to see beside you. Like are you going to be doing some serious shoulder checks? Yeah. If your rear view mirror is obstructed or obscured, you could be charged. The cars used to only have one side mirror, or at least many. Ford Fairlane. A friend of mine had a Ford Fairlane, only had one side mirror. Weird, like from factory. That's not fair. Hot Sauce Maker says, or PHF Hot Sauce Maker says, they say there are no stupid questions. This live proves otherwise. You know what? I can see where if you know the answers to the questions, they appear to be basic. However, many people don't know the answers to the questions. And then have you tried to use Google? It is not always easy. And I think it's actually gotten worse. Asking questions, you get 1,000 different answers. And you get law firms that are giving incorrect information. Who do you trust? How do you go to? Well, these questions may seem silly to some, but to others, it's really important. And we're a trusted source, and we do our best to get you all the information that you're looking for. And yeah, without judgment. Sometimes a little judgment. Let's see here. We got dad joke. Are we ready? Fingers on the button. What did the therapist say to her husband after they got home from vacation? There's a lot to unpack here. It's actually pretty good. Another one from Kayla. Dad joke. I was fishing with my dad and not having a great time. I said, my feet are wet and it smells terrible. My dad replied, yeah, I'm in the same boat. That's also not bad. I like that. Quote from Akela. The way to gain a good reputation is to endeavor to be what you desire to appear. The way to gain a good reputation is to endeavor to be what you desire to appear. Socrates said that. You know what? It doesn't I have a sound effect I didn't use for anything, so that's it. That's actually really good. Yeah. If you want to be known for something, be the person that you want to be known as. Like, do what you say you're going to do. I like that. Kayla says, stay safe and remember, don't have a good day. Have a great day. I concur. That is a good way to play. And that's it. That's the story. That's the end of the show for today. I am back, if all goes well, on Friday. I'm at a conference tomorrow, so no show tomorrow. I am taking a day off on Thursday because I got stuff and things that need to happen that I can't be here to do. So yeah, we'll be back on Friday if all goes well, but there's always a chance that I won't. So I'll let you know on Twitter. It's usually where I announce the shows. Twitter and other places too. But if you'd like to keep in touch, if you have questions that you just can't wait for, comment on a video or go and send me a DM by going to TrafficCop.ca where you can send long form emails. We'll talk. Have a great day. Drive safe, drive sober, park legally, and smile because it looks good on even you. Have a great one. And I say that I'm going to leave, but then I want to play a song. Oh, no. I want to play a recruiting video. See, there was something that needed to happen. Here we go. Recruiting video coming up. And we'll see you when we see you.
Your future career starts with a vision. A vision of opportunities ahead, where you can see a path to a noble career, serving the city of Toronto. Where do you see yourself? Toronto Police Service. Apply today.